Hello, and welcome back to the Holistic Hatha Yoga Podcast. I'm your host, Kelsey, and I am excited to be here with you today. This week's episode, we have a guest, lovely guest, Gwyneth Flack. She is an intuitive teacher and healer and an all-around amazing human being. I really enjoyed my conversation with her, and I hope you do too. So, we mostly talk about intuition, finding your intuition, ways to move through your life healthily with your spirit and mind. And it was just such a lovely conversation. So yes, without further ado, here is myself and Gwyneth Flack on our power of intuition. Enjoy, friends. Welcome to the Holistic Hatha Yoga Podcast, and we have Gwyneth Flack here today. She's an intuitive awareness teacher, has books about transforming your life with intuition, and has worked with hundreds of people, at least, on all of these things. So thank you for being here today. And
Thank you.
I think we just kind of had a little conversation before this, but what I loved and I think we should dive into immediately is intuition, recognizing that voice inside, and then kind of moving into some of the clairvoyance realm of things.
Sounds great.
Awesome. So, I think my favorite thing as far as intuition goes, when people are like, well, how do you know if it's intuition or if it's fear or just an idea or whatever? And for me, I feel like the most true statement is like intuition is just a very like quiet whisper that's consistent, and then fear or other things, distractions, are usually like high energy and like die quickly, here today, gone tomorrow type things. But anyway, that's just kind of my first definition. But what are your thoughts, and how do you kind of get people started on the intuitive track?
Yeah, I mean, it's a process of recognizing really the difference between the energy of your intuition or the vibrational frequency of your intuition or the way it comes across. Like what you were saying, I mean, it is gentle and it's calm and it's grounded and it's always supportive to you. It's always guiding you toward more of your purpose, more of your own authenticity, or more of you in terms of your health and wellness, whatever it might be, versus like competing, the intellectual part of ourselves, meaning just the part of ourselves that's been trained since kindergarten to compete within an academic system and, get done all those checklists and rise to a certain level of, whatever accomplishment. That part, yeah, like that part will be more, that'll give us a message that might be judgmental sounding, like it'll come as self-judgment, or it'll come as fear, or it'll come as competition, feelings of not being good enough, or that we need to urgently do something to achieve something. So, it's like we need to work with that part of ourselves to manage the intellectual part of ourselves so it doesn't dominate and just push us along all the time and take up all the space. It's like a loud talker. You know what I mean? It's like a loud talker, or, somebody that's talking on their phone in the quiet cafe.
Right.
Kind of like that in a lot of ways, if we don't learn to manage it and recognize it and kind of, we can manage it with humor and we can manage it just with our awareness. But if it takes up all the space, like the loud cell phone talker, metaphor, then it's like we can't hear our intuition that is there giving us this beautiful, quiet, loving guidance. And it is there all the time, but we absolutely don't get any in our normal world. We don't get the training and especially the validation that, yes, it is there, but it does take some practice to really work with it and access it. So yeah, we're innately intuitive, but if we don't practice that relationship and build that relationship, build that space, give it space, or build that muscle, metaphorically speaking, then really the intellect is going to drive us along, and that's what causes us stress. It's really, stress doesn't come from our intuition. It comes from that intellectual part of ourselves. If we don't learn to manage it, it's giving us all kinds of chatter and feedback based on past experiences. So the intellectual part of us is in past time. The intuitive part of ourselves, it's in present time. And that is a very big difference.
It's a really huge difference. I was just listening to someone who was saying the the future can change a lot sooner than what you think it can in the present moment. And it's very similar to what you're saying, but like a lot of people don't believe that because they're operating out of yesterday's terms, and
Yeah.
then they're expecting tomorrow to be different. And it's like, you've got to, yeah, you've got to be able to live in the present. And very few people can like actually see the present for what it is, or slow down enough. And I think that's the thing with our culture is this constant go, 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 and look at this, and you have to be entertained. You can be entertained on your phone, in the car, anywhere, everywhere, And I think that's a huge issue with our like younger kids and stuff too, is just like they want to be consistently entertained. And then if they're not, they're disgruntled. And it's like, whoa, when did that become the norm of like we must keep the mind active, But if you keep it active and in that kind of frantic state, like you were saying, like where there's just that constant chatter, it's easy to sell to, it's easy to manipulate, it's easy to move you around how, people want you to move versus how your authentic self wants you to move.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we buy so much into just the status quo if we're just in that intellectual part of ourselves and we're not accessing the intuitive part of ourselves. We're so much more malleable or controllable so it's really in a fun way. It's like a way of being a disruptor in the most positive sense of the word, tapping into your intuitive self and giving yourself that pause to receive rather than just do all the time. And yes, I mean, being bored is actually a great thing. Actually, so much creativity comes out of that, and so much of your connecting with yourself. You'll get some amazing idea if you let yourself be bored, meaning that you just say, you know what, I'll just set my phone down and I won't even be doing the dishes. I won't even be doing email or, anything. I'm just going to let my mind wander and stare at a wall for, just 10 minutes or something, or be driving with just silence in the car if possible. Like if there's no kids in the car with you or whatever it is, like creating a little bit of a space to just have nothing going on. And it's amazing the messages that actually come in, ideas that are really great from your intuitive knowing. That's where your best ideas come from. But how can you get those best ideas for your best life if all the time you're just receiving all this input from everywhere else? And it really winds us up. It winds up our overthinking mind to be in that space.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think you're right. I think it is like part of the rebellion is like anchoring into your own person and being
Yeah,
like, hey, what do I actually need today? You know? And most
yeah,
of the time you have everything at your already, sitting right around you. Like you have everything you need. You can literally just like relax into the moment. Uh,
yeah,
and there's a lot of power in that. There's a lot of power in that. And like you said, that's when the messages like come through, and for me, I love to use meditation, especially if I'm like super wound up and I can tell that I'm like, okay, I'm kind of too much into this mental realm. I need to come back to the center, and just giving yourself that moment to just sit and just breathe and just like come back to, oh, okay, this is what matters. This is where we're going. We can release that which we have no control over. I love that, whatever that prayer is, where it's like, God grant me the serenity to
Yeah.
release the things I cannot change, or accept the things I cannot change, um, and accept the things I can't, and whatever, change what I can. That's
Yeah.
a really loose term of it, but
Yeah. No, I
it's
know
so
that prayer. Yeah.
it's like there's a reason that's like a scripture, is because like that's an active part of our lives. It's like accept what we can't change, change what we can, and the fuck with everything else.
Yeah.
Like we can't
Right.
do anything else. Like that's
Right.
all we can do. And we're very capable humans, but also there's only so much one human can do. And so it's just relaxing, connecting to the people in your local place, just in your general vicinity. Um,
hmm Yeah, I mean, the power, we have so much power to change ourselves, and it really is fun. And a lot of times we're given the message that, oh, it's intimidating, it's scary to tap into your own messages, your own answers, and to change from within. But it's actually really fun and incredibly freeing. And that's what we have the power to do, and we have way more power than we think to do that. And it sounds like a cliche, but it really does change the world, because imagine if everybody did that. They changed the way the way they were thinking about things and the way that they were feeling, and they brought themselves into the present moment and tapped into their intuition. That actually is tremendously powerful and transformational.
Getting goosebumps from you just even saying that. Yeah, like it's so powerful because, like you said, if each person were to just do that, and that's free, it's free to do,
Right. Yeah.
like there's no limit, like there's no bar you have to jump first. You don't have to make a certain income. You can
Right.
literally anyone can do it.
Yeah.
And that's the important part. And because I think people do make it seem too hard. You're like, oh, it's just this like big thing and reaching samadhi or like enlightenment and blah, and then it's just
Right.
like, whoa, chill out, everyone, hang on. Like we're literally just living creatures. And like you said, we are so powerful. Like it is the cliche message, but cliches are cliches because they're so true. But like you literally can do anything you want. You can be like within reason. Like let's be real.
Mhm.
But you literally can, because all it takes is just small action, and we're such powerful beings, and connection with others, like it naturally flows and happens. I once had a really wild um LSD trip where like that played out in my brain of like because I think everything I was thinking of, and this kind of goes into the clairvoyance, anything I was thinking of kind of magically like came into my sphere without me really doing anything. And I was just like, this is weird, this is interesting, okay. And I was kind of experimenting it with it and whatever. And then it kind of started really hitting me like, wow, like being in this present moment and like being with your power, acting with intention towards things, if you were to do that even on a small scale or on a large scale, no matter what, you will reach the destination. Like there might be time in between there, but you will reach it if you consistently do it, and that's all it takes. And people think it's so much more difficult than that, and it's really not. It's just showing up and taking a step.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and sometimes I have my students look at how much space are they creating in themselves to even receive what they would like to create. Because I mean, we can only create from the present moment. So if we get ourselves in the present moment, that's beautiful, that's wonderful, even just for, a few minutes or whatever it is. And we create from the present moment. We don't create from the future, and if we're trying to create from the past, then we're really creating from old experiences. We want to create a new experience in the moment, but when we come into that moment of being present, how much space have we really given ourselves, or permission is another way to say it, to receive? And so often my students look at that and they go, oh, wow, I need to really open up that space, because it's been all about doing. and we get into this space in the world that we live in of just doing, and then it's really actually closes down the support, the ability for support to show up in a certain way for us to be able to manifest or experience something, just even create a new experience, have a new experience, or manifest something specific. It's really and when they start to look at that, then change really starts to happen in their lives, kind of boots on the ground kind of change, where they go, oh, wow, okay, that's now I'm having a new experience in the world. And it's just very simple. It's so subtle that it really has to be experienced. And when we experience something that's really so different than just thinking about it, when we bring it in and integrate it as an experience in our lives, and that's something that, we can all do, but we just have to be willing to be curious and open and give that to ourselves. Can we give that to ourselves as a gift?
Right. And honestly, I find a lot of the people who do find themselves stuck in that constant doing and have a hard time finding that present moment, it's almost like you got to do like a little bit of excavation work before you can let that flow like come through, because it's like I find a lot of the times people who are moving fast all the time have a lot that they need to feel first and release before they can even let that like present moment come in, because they're chasing something. They're moving away from the inside towards the external consistently for a reason, whether it's a pain or a hurt, or it's usually always something in those, negative emotions. And I find, once I think people think that those are always going to be there. And it's like, no, once you release that, it's a lot easier to have like that open channel. It's like you cleaned the mirror and now you can see again.
Yeah,
Just like getting
absolutely.
that gunk away.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much there we hold within our minds or our mind space, these pictures, these mental image pictures in our minds, and we keep, the associative mind refers to that picture. But when we start to become aware of it, like what is driving, why can't I just sit down and meditate? Why is it so hard for me to do that? Or why am I apprehensive about, diving into learning more about myself spiritually or intuitive or something like that? When we start to recognize like, oh, I'm holding these images in my mind that I'm either aware of or not aware of, so often not aware of, but even just sort of coming around to the thought that maybe there's some old junk there to clean out of my closet, so to speak. Maybe there's, an old jacket hanging in the closet that really, it doesn't fit me anymore. It's not even a color I like, like
Right,
that.
maybe I can get a new jacket.
Right, like where we start to excavate. I mean, I think excavate is a great word, like what you're saying. We start to just, once we become aware that there may be something there, that there is something there that's driving us, that's keeping us in a space that we don't necessarily want to be in anymore, that we got into from the way that we've grown up in the world, the way that we've learned, all those kinds of things, all our life experiences, where we're kind of in survival mode, just go, kind of like as a mentality, not necessarily as a literal survival mode.
Right, but no, as a mentality of just like keep
Yeah,
going and
yeah, and releasing those, releasing those pictures, releasing those feelings that show up as feelings, that show up as thoughts, and realizing, wow, that might not be me. That may not even be mine to carry. It's something that I took on, that I absorbed like a sponge a long time ago, and I don't really need to carry that anymore, because every time I go to do this one thing, communicate in a certain way, or try to make something happen that I want to happen, that I want to have happen, there it is again. There's that feeling or that thought, and wow, okay, I can release it. Once we have our awareness on it, I feel like that's 50% of the game. The next part is giving yourself that permission to actually release it and let it go so that it's not being carried around anymore. But bringing our awareness to it is really life-changing. And that begins with a decision. I do want to bring my awareness to it in a way that's really comfortable for me, and I would like to let it go, and maybe it's not mine. Like it really can be like that kind of process that really gets the ball rolling.
It's like where you step, I think that's where you really step into your power, where you're going, this is not mine anymore.
Yeah.
This is how I want to be. This is what I'm going to do. And that's where you can start to build the person that you want to be.
Right. Yeah, it's like we shed an old identity. We always want to keep shedding old identities. We don't want to be the same person we were in 6th grade. We don't want to be the same person we were in high school. And then, when by the time we become, a parent or we get established in our career or whatever, we don't want to be the same person we were in college and when we were getting trained. And, and sometimes, you can see people walking around in the world and they're stuck in an identity that was like way back a long time ago. They don't necessarily know that, but that really doesn't serve us. Right.
And you kind of want to shake them and go, let go of that. That's not helping you anymore. Like, be now. You are not that person anymore, I've had many people in my life like that, very people that are near and dear to my heart, and it's hard to see them carry so much weight for so long. And you're just like, you don't need to. You can choose to let that go,
Yeah.
And it might be a process, but like you can do that and you can become different, I don't like when people, use things that are and act as if it's set in stone, because it's like, when people are just like, well, that's just the way I am. It's like, no, that's how you're choosing to be, but nothing is set in stone here. You can make a choice and make it be different anytime you want,
It's an amazing realization, when a person comes to a point of realizing, wow, maybe that's not me. That whole way of being that wasn't benefiting me, maybe that's not me. I mean, it's one thing to think about it and go, wow, that's a nice idea. But when you actually experience the realization that it's not you, and then you let go of it, and then you have all this new space to create, well, who do I want to be in present time? What do I want to experience? How do I want to live my life? I mean, life never gets boring or tedious if you're growing in that way. It's always going to be fun and interesting. It's always going to be an adventure in the most positive sense of the word. And you're never going to feel old in a certain sense, because you're always going to be growing, which is what we're really meant to do. We're here to grow. We're not here to just stay the same.
Right. Nothing around us stays the same,
Right.
So, like, why would we think we're any different? And there's just so much that, that people can learn just from absorbing the world around them, But so with that, what were you saying about, like, the program you were talking about that kind of had to do with, like, clairvoyance?
Yeah, so I call it the Intuitive Mastery course, but it's teaching. I used to call it the clairvoyance course. It's all the same. It's just different ways of talking about the same thing. And because the way this course works is you learn how to really get more in touch with your own true self, like your soul self, and then how that relates to your body self, so that you're teaming up, you're bringing more awareness to the deeper or bigger or brighter aspect of yourself that I would call, your soul self or your soul presence, and you start to get into more direct communication with that part of yourself, which of course makes you more intuitive and more aware. And then how do we bring the body personality, the part of ourselves, we come into our genetics and our culture, and we have this body personality, whatever it is, it's tall, it's short, we're born here, we're born there, whatever. How do we build more of a friendship between the part of ourselves that's infinite, the part of ourselves that's so expansive and wise, and that it's, the way I kind of view the soul is, it's like that if we're all in oneness, it's kind of the individuated part of ourselves that's infinite. If you that's sort of one way of viewing it. And then, so how do we start to learn more about the parts of ourselves that are sort of unseen and unrecognized in the world for the most part, And so looking at and exploring our chakras and how does that relate to the life that we're living and how we relate to the world around us, and what is our aura, and how does that kind of how does that update and change as we grow and expand in the world, and how do we learn to read energy, just to really more consciously, because we're always reading energy on an unconscious level, but how do we bring our conscious awareness and learn how to read energy, read what's going on at a deeper level in any situation? It's kind of like reading the root cause, reading what the energy is like that's affecting us, or reading what the energy is that's affecting someone else. And you read from present time, and so I train people how to read energy, so that they can have the bigger context of what is going on with somebody. So in a lot of ways, it's like a truly holistic experience, because you're looking at on deeper levels, and it's really all innate to us, but without really consciously training ourselves, we don't necessarily know what it is that we have been experiencing or looking at. And so it can be a really fun experience of like, oh, wow, I always wondered about that, but I never really had words for it, or I always wondered what that experience was. And now I have so much more clarity around it, or I always wondered why I react that way in certain situations, and now I can read the energy of what's going on. And so it's a process. It's like a step-by-step process of growth, and it's really fun. I mean, the way I teach it is, it's fun. It's really, this journey that's very safe, because anytime we grow, we can only grow when we feel safe, and so how do we make it fun, and how do we just gently, in a very deliberate way, start to expand that part of ourselves? We don't try to do it all just in one day, you know what I mean? Like a crash diet, or you do it bit by bit, and then pretty soon you've expanded your awareness to include so much more of what exists, so much more of what has always been there, but all of a sudden we're noticing it. It's like when we're walking around in the world, we don't notice everything, right? But when we start to learn about something, we start to notice it more. You know what I mean? Like, even when we're walking around in the world and we don't notice a certain pattern, but then we're trained to recognize a certain kind of pattern, we start to notice that pattern in the world, right? Or anything, or when we're in nature and we learn about certain, plants and animals and bird calls or whatever, all of a sudden we're noticing that. And so in a lot of ways, it's like that. It's like you start to notice more of what's going on with you, with a lot of clarity, and what's going on with other people, and then ultimately that process is to make us more collaborative, to make us more able to communicate at a different range of levels, to guide us more toward our purpose, which for everyone it's different, our unique purposes, to heal our lives, to expand our skills and abilities, So it's a process of growth and expansion, and learning how to read at a different kind of level, and get trained on a non-intellectual level, so that then we can incorporate all that knowledge with our intellect, because ultimately we want to bring together that ability, our clairvoyant, our intuitive abilities with our intellect, so that we're bringing it all together in a really holistic way, the best of all of our abilities working together in harmony, rather than just, a one-sided thing where we're just working with our intellectual abilities. So,
and then it's like all of a sudden, it's like if only part of the engine is running, and then all of a sudden both like things are going. It's like, okay, now it's a system. Now it's flowing.
Yeah, that part of us has been like so cut off from us, and then it's, as you can see in the world, it doesn't do any good to be cut off from that part of ourselves, and it's not innate to us to be cut off from that. It's innate to us to be in relationship with that.
And I think that was completely deliberate with the powers that be. I think they wanted
Absolutely.
I think they absolutely wanted to take us away from our power, and so to put us into ways where we don't think about going to church on Sunday and all of these other things. But also, there needs to be a bigger group for that. I've been saying in my small town, I'm in northern Michigan, like, we need a spiritualist church where like people can just show up to just like meditate and whatever on one day a week or whatever, and have a little like breakfast potluck with your community. That doesn't have to be Catholicism or Lutheran or Presbyterian or anything, anything in general. But because it needs to open up, because I do believe in the truth of all the religions, and because they all do speak to the same thing. They're all saying, go inside, your answers are inside, treat others as you want to be treated. The world is a mirror, so below, or so as above, so below, all the things, like everything is saying the same thing about getting back to that inner part. And I think, prior to modern day, it was a lot bigger part of our lives to be spiritual. We had to be spiritual beings because we didn't really have science to like explain certain things. So I think people were a lot more just intuitively aware and connected, and connected with each other and feeling the energies and things. And like kings and queens in medieval times would like make pilgrimages up to certain temples and things to pray so that they could have protection for their people, and they believed that that was the thing that was going to provide the protection, and if they didn't get the protection, then karma was coming at them in a bad way, like just all of these things where it's like it's a natural part of our life and our being, but it's been so far removed from us and told almost that we're silly for believing in it, and I think that's like the biggest harm, that it has, everybody in shambles, like, because there is no central, like, oh, we're on the same team, we're two souls, part of the same grouping, on this earth together to make something great, or to just live your highest self, whatever that means, and just being of the highest good for yourself and others. And that's really as simple as it gets, which is, I mean, I love the, just even the greeting in India of namaste. It's been beaten over the head, I feel, in America, where it's just like people don't even care to hear it. But to come at somebody, instead of just saying hello and saying, the light in me recognizes the light in you, and in that we're the same. And then we start our conversation.
Yeah.
Like, where is that going to go compared to like, hey, what's up? Like,
absolutely.
Like it just sets the stage for like, hey, we're here on the same team. Now what are we going to do? Instead of like, who are you? I don't know. Who are you? Can I trust you? I don't know. Can I trust you? Blah, 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 blah. And you're playing this weird energy game,
Yeah.
When if you're a little bit more anchored into your own energy, and you can feel yours, and then you can feel others, and you can just come in an authentic, gentle, loving way, like that is what changes the world,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love sometimes I take my students through like a guided meditation where they practice saying hello at that deeper level. The namaste. I mean, I don't when I just like what you're talking about, like that namaste meaning the light in you recognizes the light in me, or that, I call it like the spirit to spirit hello, where it's like we're saying hello to the part of ourselves that's beyond just that body, because so much of where we are in the world and have been for 2,000 years or whatever is just kind of like seeing each other on that, just on the body level, where we're so body forward. We're just saying hello to each other, treating each other as if we're just a body with no other deeper wisdom. And I think that's really hard for a child too, when a child comes into the world. You come from the oneness, right? And you're born into duality, but then more so if you're not being seen and you're just being treated as a body, like, oh, that is just a baby, that is just a 2-year-old, that is just a 4-year-old, that's a 7-year-old, whatever, where society sees them that way, just as, okay, this is what they're learning with their intellect, this is all they know, they don't know any of this other stuff yet. And yeah, their intellect of course is developing, but I think truly the experience of feeling unseen is when a child doesn't get that hello to the deeper or bigger, brighter, or more wise or whatever part of themselves. But when you communicate with a child, from the moment that they can express words, they say incredibly wise things. And I often notice with kids, like, you'll be talking to them and sometimes they're just expressing from the body, you know what I mean? Like, I want a peanut butter sandwich, or, I feel frustrated with my friend, whatever it is. But then there's other times when, wow, they will say something so wise and profound that's really coming from the bigger, brighter, wiser part of themselves that's beyond just that, the developing body. And when they say something incredibly wise like that, which might just be like a few little words, and often it doesn't even get recognized, but when somebody around, whether it's a teacher or a parent or an aunt or whoever it might be, recognizes that and kind of validates that, that really speaks to them beyond that, just that body level. And to me, that's what truly builds self-confidence in a child, that confidence in themselves, and allows them to know themselves more deeply. And then they have so much more stability coming up in the world, where we live in this world that is a test-based system. It's who rises to the highest levels of the hierarchy, who gets the highest achievement award, the most important person, all this achievement, that's the only place where we get validation. And so, but if a child has had that hello, that spirit to spirit hello, or that just that recognition that there's a deeper, more expansive, more wise part of themselves, they don't buy into that, the whole award ceremony, so to speak, you know what I mean, literally or metaphorically, where that's the only place they're going to get their validation. So they have to keep on that hamster wheel of like, oh, I need to achieve, and I need to, achieve to the next level, and that's what's really important. Sure, maybe they'll do that because they like doing that, and maybe they won't. But the point is they'll know that that's not actually the most important thing.
Right. They'll
You know
actually
what I
understand
mean?
themselves.
They'll
Yeah.
keep it in actual perspective
Yeah.
of, like, oh, okay, that's not really real. That might be fun. That's great. That's cool. I can play in that world. I can not play in that world, but it's not who I am fundamentally as a human being. Who I am, and that wisdom that I have, that foundation of who I am as a spiritual being having this human experience, that's what's actually most important. And if you you have that, you really can't get thrown off very easily. You're kind of just a lot more unstoppable as you go out into the world, and you're not going to get detoured as much, wasting time going down whatever, a rabbit hole, or getting sold a bill of goods, or going into a career that maybe is just makes you miserable, or that kind of thing, you know what I mean?
Right.
Or
Yeah.
self-esteem issues, things like that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think it's incredibly important to like teach, our kids to like listen to themselves, and to take those breaks. And also just when they feel overwhelmed, let them like sit and like just doing more is not going to help the overwhelm go away. Um,
Yeah. I mean, just saying hello to that part of them, it just can be so simple. Just so simple, and that recognition that they're being seen beyond just their body and their developmental process is really powerful. It's hard to put it into words, kind of it's experiential, but I mean, I just know I've seen this in my daughter, and it's just been incredible. She's 17 now, or actually she just turned 18. um, and watching her grow into an adult has been really amazing,
yeah.
coming from just being able to have that, being seen, starting out in the world, actually being seen, has been really powerful for her.
For teenage girls, holy cow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a 14-year-old and she, is I think going through a lot of the girl stuff, of just like trying to figure out who she is, but she's playing all in the physical realm. And I'm like, and that's where she's getting all these ups and downs.
Yeah.
Trying to like get her into that a little bit more groundedness of just like, relax. That doesn't matter. This does, and we'll get there. But I'm glad to hear that your 18-year-old has like gone through the waves and is doing amazing with it. So,
Yeah, I mean, she went through just like what you're talking about at 14. It's like lots of ups and downs, of course. But wow, then you start to see them as you really start to notice as they kind of start to get to be 17, 18,
yeah, equalize a little.
the results of just you seeing them on a deeper level, and just even and all we have to do is intend that we're doing that. Really, we're just seeing them on a deeper level. We're saying hello to them. I see you. I see your light, or whatever. We don't have to even say that out loud, of course, to them, because they might be like, what?
What are you talking about?
But that we're doing that, and that we're practicing that, and it's non-verbal, it's unspoken, or just, or just that we validate them when they say something that's really intuitive, that's really in touch with themselves. We just validate. We go, wow, that's really interesting. I love that. I love what you just said. It
Right.
can be just as simple as that. It's really powerful.
Mhm. That's amazing. That's amazing. Um, Before we wrap up, um, hmm, there was a couple of different ways I wanted to go with this. I was gonna say one, like, what would you tell people if they just like wanted to start jumping into feeling their intuition? So there's option one, and then option two is we do a lot of we talk a lot about the seven chakras like within the body system. But I do know like there's of some I've read some books and stuff of like other chakras that like reside up like directly above and below and things like that. Do you know anything about those or anything like I guess what's your chakra system or like where does the aura begin and end for you?
Well, there's the chakras and there's the aura, and yes, I mean we do have the higher chakras beyond the body. And when I'm teaching about the chakras, we start with the first chakra and the second and the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, before we start to explore beyond that, because then it really builds a really strong foundation of awareness.
Yeah, I can agree with that. But yeah, and then it just kind of playing into the auric field and basically I feel like those points are just kind of like yeah, just kind of cross points of where we begin and end type thing.
I mean, our chakras are so interesting because they contain all this information, like our first chakra, survival information, for example. And it's what did we pick up from our family when we were growing up, and what is really ours, and what do we want to update. So or our second chakra, emotions, and sexuality, and all kinds of things, or our third chakra. How do we have a balance? How do we find a balance of power and control? So all of our chakras have different kind of themes, but really it comes down to, if we bring our awareness to them and we can start to update them to present time, so that, let's say we don't understand why we're afraid of water or something like that, right? Like we never even had a bad experience with water, but we're afraid of water, and we actually want to go out on a sailboat for the day with our friends. You know what I mean? Like it could be as simple as that. And we have some information in our first chakra that's really not even information that's relevant anymore. It's from a past life, or it's from our father who nearly drowned in a river when he was 5 years old. You know what I mean? Something like that. It's amazing what we can be carrying around that's just so not even in our realm at all, and that could be controlling us from doing something that we really want, like, or we want to find a certain kind of great partner, but the survival information, I could talk about any chakra with this, but I'm just using the first chakra as an example. But the first chakra says, don't look for this kind of person, look for this kind of person. And it's like information that's there, that's like from our mother, and she took it on from her mother. So it's like our grandmother's information that she took on from her mom. And it's like, this is the kind of person you want to have in a relationship. But then you get in these relationships and you go, oh, that doesn't seem like a good match for me. You know what I mean? So it can be amazing. And so you bring your awareness step by step, slowly, gently exploring it in a fun way. And you go, oh my gosh, wow, there is some energy in there that is really standing in the way of me living my best life. And, and our chakras are connected to our physical body. It's just in a different vibration. It's just in a different, energy. Everything's energy frequency. Einstein said it. It just is. And so they're just in a different vibrational frequency or energy frequency than the density of our physical body. And we've made our physical body really real, whereas most of society's not made our chakras real, right? So, right? So, and then we start to tune into that vibrational frequency, that density. We get so much information, and it's really amazing, because then, wow, let's completely update that. That old stuff about whatever, the fear of water, or the information from your great 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 grandmother about who to pick for a partner, and then all of a sudden you're operating from your own present time information, but you're not going to forget certain kinds of information. You're going to keep the survival information in there, that's like, don't cross the street when there's traffic. But you are going to get rid of, here are your 3 choices of a kind of partner that you can choose when, let's say, none of them work for you. So,
Right, when there's 100 options.
yeah, exactly.
And yeah, no, I
Yeah.
love that. And I love that you make it into like a fun way, because like we've said, like a lot of this stuff, it sounds like, ooh, it's so like so much work and blah, 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 excavation, not fun, and it's like, no, this stuff can be really, really fun. Because like you said, it's like taking, I don't know, it's like the veil off,
Yeah.
and like actually being able to shine your light and be like, oh, what do I actually want to do
Yeah.
today or in my life or
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Right.
Yeah, such awesome power there. Oh, well, thank you so much. I've loved this conversation. I
Me
think
too.
um, people are gonna absolutely love just, I think, hearing and I think being seen in the fact of like, okay, there is something deeper. I it can have permission to dive in, and that those things will be true to me, even if it's not true to anyone else, because
Mhm.
it's your personal experience, and so what you find is going to be different than what someone else finds, and what you want to do is going to be different than what someone else wants to do.
Exactly. I mean, ultimately, it's about asking and receiving your own answers for yourself that guide you more toward your purposes, plural, your purposes in
Right.
in the world, and what brings you joy and what heals your life. We're all here healing our lives, and how do we heal our lives most effectively, or in a way that is with a relative degree of ease, or in a way that gives us a different way of looking at our daily lives? Because really, ultimately, what is spirituality? It's a way of navigating in this world that we live in with more joy and more ease and more awareness. That's really what spirituality is. And it's not a formula, it's not a structure, it's not even, it's not even a belief system. It's just us becoming more of who we are and learning to navigate in the world in a more authentic way that's actually aligned for us rather than what somebody else would do.
Right. Right. That's a beautiful, beautiful place to stop. That's like, in a nutshell, just whatever. That's the clip. That's what everybody needs to do. Oh, right there. But yeah, thank you so much for being on here today. I've loved this conversation. And if anybody wants to come find you, what is your website?
It is gwynethflack.com.
Awesome, perfect, easy peasy. I'll put that in the show notes so people can find you and learn more. And yeah, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I've had such a great conversation. It's been really fun.
Yeah, it has. Thanks. She was just so much fun. I absolutely adored that conversation and that time. And that whole day after that conversation, I was just riding an absolute high. So that was amazing. Um, but yeah, so that is all for this week. The planets are doing some crazy things right now, and so I think everybody is feeling a little bit wild up in here. And I really invite you to go on my website and get the Yog Nidra download. It's $14.99, and you can do it more than once. You can do it unlimited amount of times. You'll have a Yog Nidra class downloaded to your phone that you literally only have to press play, lay down, and listen to it, and it is an amazing session. And so what this does for us is it helps us enter deep rest. It helps us reset our nervous system, and it gives us a chance to reprogram our mind on a subconscious level. And so, yeah, I really love Yog Nidra, and I really see the need for that for everybody right now. And so, yes, please go over to my website, holistichathayoga.com, and grab your Yog Nidra class. It's about 40 or 45 minutes. And yeah, please, please, please jump on that, and bring that into your practice. I love to do that probably about once a month. I will turn that on and do my own Yog Nidra, which is great because yeah, I use it myself, and I love the time. It is, I always feel extremely refreshed, and like kind of like a brand new human when I come out. So I would love to share that with you. And so yeah, head on over to my website. All right, one light, one love, friends, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye. Om Loka Samista Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om